Hello, dear friends. Abundance is the natural state of all things, while scarcity is artificially provoked. At the moment, abundance is in the news, so much that it takes many hours of work to summarize and synthesize. Opinion piece. The power of change. Facebook is in free fall. Supply chains are a constant. Shelves are running on empty in New York City. Telegram founder advises to get a good night's sleep. Aluminium prices above $3,000 a tonne. JPMorgan CEO rejects Bitcoin. Campaign to demand housing for all in Spain. Debt of the poorest countries skyrocketed in 2020. China has won the battle of artificial intelligence. The high price of energy may accelerate inflation. The European Union stakes its future on the Polish challenge. Spain leads the European Union with the biggest gap in public accounts. Let's start. It is a wonder or despair, depending on how you look at it, to sit and watch the world in cosmic transformation and the destinies of nations at stake. People acting in groups and as individuals in a less sensible way. The force of epochal change is upon us, and the guiding lights are present or on their way. The lesser lights always precede the greater lights that herald the approach. Heaven is somewhat subtle most of the time, but has the power to act in dramatic ways using the players at hand and others. Heaven commands all of life. People in their freedoms and appetites choose to go against it, and that automatically programs a given effect later on. Human destiny is beyond mortal perspective. It is a matter of many lifetimes before one can see the light. Volatility. As the world comes out of economic recession, many things are changing. High inflation, stimulus packages, interest rates, all these words are making the news, but it is hard to know how the whole system works. There is too much political and economic instability right now. What we do have to expect is higher prices on energy, groceries, and all other related items, as well as hyperinflation and higher taxes. It could go from bad to worse before any big event, but it is part of the universal laws that everything must get worse before it gets better. In short, they would be trying to collapse the economy to offer us a solution in quotes. In quotes again. We, the world government, will compensate for your losses by providing you with a universal basic income and cancel all your debts. In return, you must submit to all measures, while renouncing private property. When presented with this option, we would, in my opinion, be on the edge of the precipice, but I don't think it would go that far. Everything will come. Buffness said, everything will come to some extent, but not as you would like it to. There are elements that must be handled differently, and there are problems that cannot be solved at this time. Just trust the resources that are trying to pave the way for a different outcome and do your job as well. Caring people often focus almost entirely on the demands of life, as they give so much to others. They reflect on how tiring the demands of the day are and how difficult they are. 3D physical wealth soon gives way to the realization that while science serving the planet can make life much better, all souls will naturally strive to increase their multidimensional awareness. As the cruelties of this planet diminish, that awareness, aligned with Source, fostered by meditation, prayer, and humanitarianism, will steadily lead us to embrace our truly divine connections. The destiny of planet Earth is to ascend to a planet of light, and ascend with the other planets in our solar system that are already in an ascended state, and are only waiting for Earth to join them so that the entire solar system can rise to a higher level. This will happen soon, as millions of people are becoming aware of the injustices imposed upon them that limit their freedom of movement and expression. Economy. And New York falls. New York Wall Street. Stocks mostly fell in afternoon trading Monday, and trading was choppy as investors turned cautious ahead of third quarter earnings season. Wall Street ends session lower. Stocks ended a choppy session lower Monday as investors grew nervous ahead the third quarter earnings reporting season. High energy prices may accelerate inflation. Rising energy prices continue around the world amid an ongoing energy crisis. Crude oil has risen more than 64% this year, hitting a 7-year high of $82 a barrel on Monday. The price of natural gas has also risen to a 7-year high in the past 6 months, while the price of coal is at record highs. Analysts opt for conservative stock market investing in volatile times. Stock market analysts recommend conservative and more selective investing between now and the end of the year, as uncertainty over sustained growth in price levels above what central banks initially projected continues to weigh on market performance, especially in the face of rising energy prices. JPMorgan and Goldman versus all. Market optimism is fading as the energy crisis deepens and the shadow of inflation grows larger. But Wall Street's two leading investment banks are positioned themselves against market sentiment and in the line with central banks. Inflation is a transitory phenomenon, they say, and advise their clients to keep buying on the dips, according to Francisco Jimenez. JPMorgan CEO rejects Bitcoin as worthless and argues it will be regulated by governments. Cryptocurrencies will end up being regulated by governments, says JPMorgan Chase CEO and Chairman Jamie Dimon, who remains skeptical about Bitcoin because he believes it has no intrinsic value. In quotes, whatever you think about it, the government is going to regulate it, whether it's anti-money laundering or taxation, Diamond said. Social networks. Facebook is in free fall. Facebook is going through the worst times in its history. A former employee is bringing out the company's dirty laundry. Add to this revelation the news of the internal report in which the social network assumes that Instagram does irreparable damage to teenagers and the service problems that the social network has had lately and that have cost Mark Zuckerberg billions in the stock market. Advice from the founder of Telegram. Pavel Durov recommended paying more attention to sleep, nature, and solitude, and is against living in big cities, eating in restaurants, and following fashion trends. For the Russian-born billionaire, three of the most important things in life are sleep, nature, and solitude. Durov believes that good sleep stimulates immunity, creativity, and psychological well-being, and that solitude offers the freedom to make spiritual and intellectual breakthroughs. He also believes that we are biologically designed to feel good in the natural environment, and I agree with him 100%. Excuse me. Supply crisis. Shelves are running out on empty in New York City, according to Mike Adams. Supply chains are a concern. As companies continue to emerge from the crisis, new issues are taking center stage on Wall Street, including supply chain bottlenecks and inflationary pressures. Demand for private jets soars. Private business jets once provided refuge from airport queues for the few who could afford them, but the fading crisis has pushed demand to such heights that even wealthy travelers now face cancellations and delays. Benjamin Fulford opined, people should realize that Donald Trump is not the man to bring back democracy and independence, because the Rothschilds bailed him out every time he went bankrupt as a businessman. General Michael Flynn has said that the army offered Trump the opportunity to nullify the 2020 election, and he refused. For this reason, the White Dragon Society sent a representative to meet in person with Flynn last week to offer him the position of interim president after the corporation formally went bankrupt. The debt of the poorest countries soared in 2020. The debt of more than 70 low-income countries increased by 12% in 2020 to a record $860 billion due to the fiscal and monetary response deployed to face the crisis, and represents a tragic setback in the development of these countries, the World Bank warned on Monday. Nobel Prize in Economics 2021. Canadian David Card, Israeli-American Joshua Angrist, and Dutch-American Guido Imbens were awarded by the Nobel Prize in Economics. The Swedish Academy highlighted the laureates' empirical contributions to the social sciences and new insights into the labor market. Card demonstrated in particular that raising the minimum wage doesn't necessarily lead to fewer jobs. Spain. Campaign to demand housing for all. More than 33,000 people in Spain do not have keys to open their homes because they do not live in a home, and their right to housing is violated, denounces the Hogar Sí Foundation on World Homeless Day, which is celebrated by organizations that support the homeless. Spain settles a historic debt with evictees and tenants. A new housing law will bring the country to the level of its European partners in ensuring the right to housing in the country. Spain has the honor of leading the biggest gap in public accounts in the European Union. The most expansive general state budgets in history, presented last week by the government, will bring the structural deficit to more than 55,000 million per year at the end of the legislature. The Spanish public accounts deficit is already the highest in the European Union. Tremor in Pamplona. Pamplona and its region have felt tonight a seismic tremor that has had a magnitude of 3.9 degrees on the Richter scale, followed by another one of 3.2 degrees, both with epicenter in Lithuania. The feet of Magellan and Elcano in Quito. The feet of the first circumnavigation of the Earth dialogues with works of the discovery of America by the Ecuadorian artist Oswaldo Guayasamín in an exhibition inaugurated by the Spanish Embassy in Quito on the occasion of the national holiday. El Pollo Carvajal delivers to the judge documentation on payments made by the Chavista government to founders of Podemos. The former head of the Venezuelan intelligence, Hugo Carvajal, has delivered to the judge of the Audiencia Nacional, Manuel García Castellón, a new batch of documents that would reflect payments made by the governments of Hugo Chávez and Nicolás Maduro to members of the founding team of Podemos. Spanish America. Ecuadorian Assembly accuses Parliament of slowing down investigation on Pandora's papers. The plenary of Ecuador's Parliament put obstacles to prevent investigation of the revelations of Pandora's papers, in which President Guillermo Lasso is involved, said the President of the National Assembly Auditing Commission, Fernando Villavicencio. Relatives of the crew of the wrecked submarine demand the arrest of former President Macri. The Argentine lawyer Luis Tagliapietra, main plaintiff in the case in which former President Mauricio Macri was summoned for the illegal espionage of the relatives of the crew of the Argentine Navy submarine San Juan, announced that they requested that he be declared in absentia and that his international arrest be requested to Interpol. Europe. Europe opens in the red. Europe's major indices are pointing to a more or less quiet opening session at the start of the week, following Friday's disappointing US jobs data. Britain's steel crisis. The British steel industry lobby warned Monday of a looming crisis due to rising wholesale energy prices, which could force plants to close coastal production sites, stoke emissions, and show chaos in supply chains. Aluminium exceeds $3,000 per ton for the first time since 2008. The price of aluminum rose above $3,000 per ton, renewing the maximum that dated back to July 2008, according to data from the London Stock Exchange. The European Union's future is at stake due to the Polish challenge. Poland has staged the greatest attack on the European legal order in its history, according to Francisco Herranz. The Warsaw's order, channeled through the Constitutional Court, clearly and unequivocally questions the principle of the primacy of community law over national law, by ruling that Articles 1 and 19 of the Treaty of the European Union are incompatible with its constitutional order. The European Union would start to collapse. The European Union would start to collapse unless it challenges a ruling by Poland's top court that national law prevails over European laws, a senior bloc official said Monday. European Union crisis blocks Balkan enlargement. European Union membership will remain vetoed for the 6 Western Balkan countries. Competing interests among the 27 current members seal the borders to the west and open the way to greater Chinese, Russian and Turkish influence. According to Benjamin Fulford, there are many signs that the European Union is collapsing. For example, there is now open talk of Poland leaving the European Union or Polexit, after the Polish courts declared themselves about the European Union. Poland's constitutional tribunal ruled that key articles of one of the European Union's core treaties are incompatible with Polish law. Another major sign that the European Union may be collapsing is the almost simultaneous fall of the governments of Austria and the Czech Republic. Czech President Miloš Zeman was taken to a hospital after Prime Minister Andrej Babiš, ANO party, lost the election. The Pandora Papers investigation revealed that Babiš secretly moved $22 million through offshore companies to buy a property on the French Riviera in 2009 before entering politics. He was also resigned in Austria. Chancellor Sebastian Kurz due to a corruption scandal. Shots fired at Poland-Belarus border. Anna Michalska, spokeswoman for Poland's border guard, said Belarusian forces fired on Polish troops across the eastern border of the European Union on Thursday. The area along the border is restricted as part of a state of emergency that Poland imposed in early September. The Moscow-backed Belarusian government is organizing and encouraging people to enter European Union territory as an element of hybrid warfare in retaliation for the Western sanctions against the authoritarian government in Minsk. The Justice Department and the FBI are investigating a group of 7 US fighters under federal statute for alleged war crimes in Ukraine. China's problems reach France. China's debt problems have reached the Champs-Élysées, a unit of the Shandong Ruyi conglomerate that controls 53% of accessible fashion retailer SMCP, has defaulted on $250 million in bonds exchangeable for shares in the French company. A United Nations meeting charged with protecting biodiversity begins in China on Monday with the aim of combating pollution and preventing the mass extinction of a species, weeks before another climate meeting. China and Taiwan raised tension. The presidents of China and Taiwan, Xi Jinping and Tsai Ing-wen, took advantage of commemorative events this weekend to reiterate their opposing positions on Beijing's ambition to reunify the People's Republic with the island, which it considers a rebel province and whose sovereignty it has claimed for decades. China bonds plunge. Bonds of Chinese real estate firms were hit with another wrecking ball on Monday, as Evergrande looked set to miss its third round of bond payments, and rivals Modern Land and Cynic also struggled to delay deadlines. Evergrande, a story of financial leverage about to fall. 4 years ago, Evergrande chairman Hui Kaiyan was battling Jack Ma, chairman of Alibaba, to be Asia's richest man. But with the crisis unleashed a few weeks ago on the firm, he doesn't seem to have the help of his Taiwan friends or the Chinese government to save him from collapse, according to Bloomberg News. China has won the artificial intelligence battle. China won the artificial intelligence battle with the US and is headed for global dominance because of its technological advances, the Pentagon's former software chief told the Financial Times. And this is all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.